Hey friends. Hi guys. It's me again, Sarah Williams, CEO, president, and founder of Hemp for Healthcare in Alaska and in America. And today, look, I'm in a different role. I'm in a totally different role today. So today we're discussing the next side, the next level, the next thing, right? So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm all about hemp, right? So every Saturday morning we do explaining hemp. Well, guess what? The whole point of hemp is so that we can have better health care. And so as I've started this new job, if you've been following me on Facebook, you know that I have a new job, and that new job is in a store that specializes in plants as medicine. And so I have just decided now to take it upon me to take it to the next level. What's the next level? Well, instead of explaining hemp on Friday nights, we're going to explain health. Okay? Explain health. We're going to do our best to make these exciting, but sometimes some of the topics can get a little boring. I understand. It's just part of how it is. But if you don't take care of your health, who will? It's all your responsibility. It's your body. God gave it to you, but he expects you to honor it and to be kind to it. But if you don't know how to, what are you going to do? Listen to the world? Well, the world would say, eat this and eat that. And oh, we trust the things that are on our shelves. Oh, please don't. So today we're going to discuss about the most important part to your healthcare, which is the digestive system, the belly, the stomach, right? The intestines. We're not going to talk specifically about the colon, but yeah, elimination isn't a matter of it. So we're going to talk about a little thing. It's not a little thing. It's a big thing. It's a thing that's known throughout America as leaky gut or intestinal inflammation. So we're going to spend just a few minutes kind of going over it. And then we're going to break into this awesome video. And the video, albeit it's a little old, published in 2006, it's a little old and sometimes a little dry. Let's be real. But if you can stay with me, you're going to learn a tremendous amount about the digestive system and about what to eat, what not to eat, and why it's so important to eat the right things. So if you're like me, you grew up believing you are what you eat. Well, isn't that the truth? What you put in your mouth, no matter what it is, what you put in your mouth is what your body then uses to generate new cells, to generate energy, and to become. So as our body generates and regenerates and heals and move forward, we are what we eat. So take a second with me and think about, well, what are you today? Well, for me, let's see. For me, I am some almonds. This morning for breakfast, I had an oat milk smoothie with some chocolate greens, some hemp seed, and some peanut butter. That was a good breakfast. Then I'm also today for lunch, I had a riced cauliflower, mixed vegetables, plant sausage mix. That was delicious with an apple and some almonds. Super delicious. That's what I was. However, for dinner, I fell off the bandwagon. For dinner, I had some popcorn. I had a veggie burger, but I had some nut breads, very high like nut, but still wheat bread as like the bun for the veggie burger. And then I had 2 pretzels. So I fell off the bandwagon. So nobody's perfect, guys. Nobody is expected to eat a perfect meal every single day. But if you're not going to be able to eat a balanced meal, like lots of veggies and whatnot, well, make sure you take your vitamins. What kind of vitamins do you need? We'll talk about that as we keep going. Okay. So, or you can come see me at All About Herbs, and we will go ahead and get you set up with the right amount of plant-based nutrition to balance out your body and bring out some homeostasis. So in the comments, who's with me? Louis! We will not be able to see your broadcast due to YouTube changes. There will be an extra payment. Well, you can still see me on Facebook. Are you on Facebook, Louis? You could still see me there. You can also see me over on Twitter. I'm also broadcasting on Twitter at the moment at Phoenix Rises AK. So you should be able to still see me for free, hopefully. I don't know why. I'm not asking YouTube to monetize my channel. That would be silly. I want to be able to give this information for free so that you can keep moving forward in your health. Okay, so let's talk about the digestive system. So you are what you eat. So the chemicals you put in your body, that's what you become. That's what you become. The sugar that you put in your body, it's what you become. Number one addictive substance. You know, people say, well, marijuana, that's a gateway drug, or heroin, that's a gateway drug, or alcohol, it's a gateway drug. No. Nope. I'm going to tell you that the number one gateway drug in America and the entire world is sugar. Sugar. Cane sugar. Have you noticed they put it in everything? 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Sugar metabolizes in your system in such a way that you become addicted to it. Addicted to sugar. How many of you, by show of hands in the comments, are addicted to sugar? I'll start, okay? For me, I have to be very, very careful. If I eat too much sugar, I get grumpy, I get emotional, and my entire body gets inflamed. My pain issues, my neck injury, my back all starts to get inflamed. So it's very important to really pay attention to what you eat, okay? So we're going to watch a video. Like I said, we're going to watch a video called It Takes Guts to Be Healthy. Okay. I have permission that I've posted in the comments from treelight.com. Okay. This is their video. This is for natural, what am I thinking? What's it? Natural, hold on. I'm getting that. Natural health, managers, distributors. Okay, this is deep information about the intestinal system. Okay, your gut, your digestive system, because that's where it all starts. All right. If you're not eating the right foods, if your gut's not working, if you're struggling in those areas, everything else is going to get broken. Everything. Okay, so that's why we're starting there. As we watch this video, please feel free to comment in the comments, ask any questions, and I will be on commenting as well. And so we will just, get through. It's a 48-minute video. So if you can't be here through the whole thing, come on back. Please give feedback. Please comment in the comments as well what kind of topics you would like to see as far as we walk through this explaining health series. What are some of the things that you would like some plant-based alternatives to? What are some things you'd like to know more about? Please go ahead and put those in the comments. And we will move forward. As always, I am always looking for donors, sponsors, supporters of what I'm doing. So please go to hempforhealthcare.com, make a purchase, buy a hemp product. I've got hemp shoes coming in the mail. I am so excited. And make a purchase or make a donation, support what we're doing. Hemp for Healthcare starts with hemp, but ends with better healthcare for America, for Alaska, and for the entire world. So I love you, and let's go ahead and get started. Again, please put in the comments where you're from, so I know that where you're watching from. We're gonna go ahead and do this. Okay, we'll do this one. Now, I haven't tried to share this yet, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, can you see me? Can you see me? It's going there. Ooh, okay, let's see. Let's get this whole picture going. Nope, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Yes, it takes guts to be healthy. Okay, there we go. Here we go. And you got to know, this guy, and look at him.
Welcome to the Herbal Hour.
2006.
I'm Stephen Horn. With me is Dr. Kimberly Ballas, a naturopathic doctor, and we're going to be talking about intestinal health. The title of our program is It Takes Guts to Be Healthy. We're going to be speaking specifically about intestinal inflammation and leaky gut syndrome, which is a major cause of many people's health problems. Let me put it this way. If you had a trash can inside of you, wouldn't that be a little bit of a problem? Well, our intestinal tract is supposed to eliminate waste, and it's also supposed to protect our body against toxins that might be in the intestinal tract. It's supposed to filter them out. But what happens in a lot of people is those intestinal membranes become porous and they leak. So the question is, do your intestines leak? Are they letting some of that garbage that should be going out of your body into your body and causing this problem of auto-intoxication? Well, there are some things that actually cause the intestinal membranes to become damaged, so they leak toxins. And it can be any combination of the following. Antibiotics are a big cause because they destroy the friendly bacteria to help protect our intestines. Alcohol, caffeine, prescription corticosteroid drugs like prednisone, so forth, can be a cause. There are even more causes. Your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and aspirin are causes of leaky gut. A diet high in refined carbohydrates, prescription hormones, particularly birth control pills, mold and fungal toxins can be a problem. Free radical damage can be a problem. And there are even more causes. Parasites like Giardia, bacteria like the pylori bacteria, chemicals in fermented and processed foods like dyes, preservatives, and so forth, and even enzyme deficiencies could all cause inflammation to the lining of our intestinal tract. And when that inflammation takes place, the intestines can start to leak. So what are some of the things that happen when the intestines leak? Kim?
Well, there's a lot of metabolic problems that are caused by leaky gut because what's happening is you have too large of a particle going through the intestinal membrane, so they're not absorbing the nutrients that they should. So that's inflamed, and that can cause fatigue, it can cause bloating. Large food particles are absorbed, which create food allergies and autoimmune diseases. Situations like arthritis and fibromyalgia, asthma, those are all things that have been linked to the leaky gut syndrome. So these carrier proteins actually are damaged, so the nutrient deficiencies occur, which can cause a lot of different symptoms to come up, and there's like a binding action that needs to happen there. The B12 helps to carry that across in the intestinal membrane, and then it needs to bind with the fats. But what happens is magnesium deficient muscle spasms can occur. When these nutrients don't get across the membrane like that. The copper deficiency can actually cause an abnormally high cholesterol.
And other minerals like zinc and so forth can also happen the same way.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of things that happen, zinc helps with the clearance of infections. So that when that's not present, then you're more prone to infectious situations. Also, you have immune function with chemical sensitivities that show up. So your body's not able to protect you as much against your environmental toxins because it's having to take the first path or the first priority that comes up, and it means that there are more toxins inside that it's having to deal with because of this than what it can handle coming in from the outside world. So all of those toxins that are leaking out put extra stress on the liver, and then it can't handle incoming toxins either. So what happens is several different things metabolically is there's this protective coating of what's called an immunoglobulin. It's an IgA, and it's affected because it's not able to fight off bacteria, the viruses, the candida, things that are going to cause some of the infectious buildup that may go on in the body and cause the inflammation. So the bacteria and the candida can relocate. So it's like they have a new bus system now. They can just reroute themselves to wherever they want to go, and they can pass from the gut into the bloodstream. They can get to other organs. They can get to glands. They can get to different systems, and it's because they have built their own transit system, so to speak, because they've found a way out. So now they have this public transportation system going on, and they can move. So then there's also the formation of antibodies, and those look similar to antigens on our own tissues. So you have antigen structures that are like these little puzzle pieces, and there are things that match your antigens, or there are things that don't match. So that's kind of how the body distinguishes between self and not self. Does this look like me? Does this not look like me? So what happens is when these antibodies form, they're supposedly attacking things that are not self, but because how these toxins come through the intestinal membrane, they attach to our tissues. This new busing systems allowed them, to move into the suburbs. So now this house in the suburbs has this similar looking component to it, like it has a red door, and then the house in the city had a red door too. So they look alike, and the body's having a hard time telling between self and not self, so it attacks everything, and that sets up that autoimmune response where it's attacking.
Wow. So we have problems with nutrient absorption, we have problems with toxins being absorbed, we have problems with bacteria and microbes moving, and we also have problems with the body being able to recognize the difference between infection and self. And so basically we're talking about like a major breakdown of health all overall.
Pretty much the root cause, and in Chinese medicine, they attribute 90% of all your immune function is in the gut.
Wow. Well, the gastrointestinal tract is really important to our health. I mean, it not only breaks down and absorbs nutrients, but it's our first line of immune defense against pathogens like bacteria, viruses, fungus, and also chemical irritants. So if what's happening in leaky gut, it's like you have this outer perimeter of your military defense, and you have a backup perimeter behind that in case your front line gets breached. Well, when your intestines start to leak, it breaches your front line. So the enemy basically has breached your perimeter of defense and is entering into your territory. And that's why leaky gut is such an important thing for damaging our health. Now let's just look at some of the specific health problems that are associated with leaky gut. Abdominal discomfort, ADHD, arthritis, asthma, autism, autoimmune disorders like Kim was talking about, bloating, candida or yeast infections. Continuing on, celiac disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, dermatitis, diarrhea, eczema, environmental illnesses, fatigues, fevers, food allergy, inflammatory bowel disease, and we're not done yet. There's still more. Irritable bowel syndrome, memory problems, multiple chemical sensitivity, pancreatic insufficiency, psoriasis, skin problems, skin rashes, and toxic feelings. And by the way, most of that list comes from medical journals, not from just natural response. I mean, there are actually a growing body of published studies showing how intestinal leakage is linked to all of these different health problems. And that's why I guess taking care of the intestines has been so important for natural healers. So tell us a little bit more in kind of layman's terms, what's actually happening with leaky gut?
Well, you have an inflammation that goes on in the intestines. And when that occurs, there's an underlying irritation of some kind. So you have to find out what's the root cause of this irritation. So we can look at several different things of why the tissues are getting inflamed, they swell, they increase the porous nature in the intestines, and you have that big, large particle passing through. So it's kind of like a bulldozer going through a wall. It's coming through when it actually should be something going through this really fine netting. And the toxins that are largely undigested then are allowed to enter through the blood and into the lymph system, into the interstitial tissue. And that causes damage in the intestinal membranes, kind of like little nicks or little chinks that are taken out. So then all of these toxins are in there. The liver's trying to neutralize them, and it puts a real strain on the liver and the kidneys of trying to eliminate these toxins that they can't handle. Residual toxins of the cells, even those get backed up or they get stored in the liver, and it puts stress on the liver because it's having to deal with this crisis at hand. So there are different kinds of things that you can look at as far as blood chemistry is concerned to kind of get an idea of leaky gut going on. And we have albumin. Albumin's processed in the liver, so you can get a lot of idea what's going on in the liver by looking at how albumin's functioning, and it helps to build and repair tissue. It also helps, it's an osmotic pressure that holds things in solution between the body tissues and the fluids. So you know that when the albumin goes low, that it's not working. There's not enough there to hold things in solution. So it's a pretty good indicator that things are leaking into the gut, because albumin's used to help the liver build and repair tissue. So also there's globulin, which is another protein, and it's produced in the thyroid and in the spleen. And that is also another thing that's used for toxic neutralization. So when the globulin goes high and albumin goes low, you're kind of looking in really simple terms, but you might want to look at asking some questions about some of the symptoms we've listed about leaky gut syndrome. So the globulin also, what it does is it binds the antigens that we talked about in the blood, so that the body's not attacking itself. So it's a real good indicator of how chronic has this gotten, because the higher it goes, the more chronic of a situation that you have. And then the globulin also helps with this protection and of the gastrointestinal mucosal cells. So when the globulin elevates, you know that it's having to work harder, like it's trying to go in and trying to protect, and it can't keep up with the ongoing damage that's being done by the bulldozer, so to speak, going through the intestinal wall. And then another thing that we can look at are the liver enzymes. So that's your ALT, your AST, and your GGT. And those usually elevate when leaky gut syndrome is present, significantly elevate, or they will be significantly lowered. So they can go either way, but it's just showing that when they're lowered, there's like a lot of congestion going on with the toxins. And then when they're elevated, it's like the liver's trying to work overtime to process them. So that's a good indicator of your interstitial stagnation that's going on there. So then all of these toxins that are present, then the tissues become like inflamed due to all this toxicity. The glandular system's stressed, trying to maintain the balance, and then the liver's just overwhelmed. So it puts a lot of stress on other body organs and function because of this intestinal membrane lining. So that's how it's like one of the major root causes of most all diseases.
Well, and this is something that herbalists talk about a lot, because a lot of herbalists, really promote the idea of colon cleansing as being this real important thing to general health. But I think there's a couple of misconceptions about colon cleansing. One of them is that just getting the bowels to move more is cleansing the colon. And cleansing is a lot more than just stimulating bowel movements. That's not really what we're talking about here, because laxatives alone aren't going to repair the leaky gut or deal with some of the underlying problems that are present here. Another big myth with the cleansing is the idea that you're getting this encrustation of material that's like blocking absorption in the colon, and that really isn't what is occurring. What's really happening is you do get feces that gets impacted, but more what's happening is that's causing inflammation, which causes the colon walls to swell, and you're getting an excess permeability, not an inability for things to be moving into the system. So the complete cleansing process, or how we deal with this, starts with avoiding intestinal irritants. Then we've got to bind toxins and irritants in the gut so that we prevent them from inflaming tissues and causing damage to intestinal mucosa. Then the third thing is we've got to improve colon transit time so that toxins and irritants are removed from the GI tract on a more timely basis. Then we reduce existing intestinal inflammation and restore the integrity of membranes so that we reduce the gut permeability. We also, in this process, have to look at removing yeast and other harmful microbes and creating a healthy balance of friendly bacteria in the intestines. And since the liver gets affected, we need to support those liver enzyme systems, phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification enzymes with nutritional cofactors and antioxidants. And 7, we need to stimulate the flow of bile and urine to remove toxins that have been processed by the liver. And finally, we've got to repopulate the colon with friendly microbes. So this is a more than just getting the colon to move. This is a whole process and steps we've got to do to repair the intestinal tract, help the liver, and help the body detoxify to get this all to heal. So Kim, why don't you take the first of these about avoiding intestinal irritants?
Well, we have some do's and don'ts here. So we have some red lights, a few yellow lights, some green lights with the go ahead. So let's look at the red lights first, okay? That is avoiding those processed foods that are loaded with all of those preservatives, the BHT, all of those bromides, everything that's hidden in there. Usually, if you can't pronounce it on the label, you shouldn't eat it. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb. Then also to eliminate the food allergens that are occurring. So that would be overproduction of those antibodies, with the wheat, corn, and dairy that causes that agglutination or that thickness in the blood too, or aggravating the inflammatory process.
Of course, that could be any other food that a person's allergic to.
Any other food that they're having allergy reactions to. And then avoiding refined sugars and your high glycemic index carbohydrates, because when you take the insulin up and you're taking that inflammatory level up, then we're talking about what you had just mentioned with the inflammation in the bowel and having more permeability in there. Okay, so some of the yellow light things that we want to look at that also affect this are things like your Nsaids, which are your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, your corticosteroids, birth control pills, and these are listed as yellow lights because sometimes you have to take these things, but not like on a daily basis of something that you're doing over and over and over and over all the time for years, and it's really going to affect that. I would also probably put aspirin in here because of how it irritates the intestinal lining in the stomach.
And Tylenol.
Tylenol, even though Tylenol is not officially an NSAID, I would list that as well with the kidney and the liver irritants. So we have several things there in the yellow category. Let's look at the green lights, some things that can actually help to repair and prevent this. And those are eating some fibrous foods like your whole grains, meaning the grains that are actually whole that contain enzymes in them to help break them down and not the refined processed ones. Your leafy green vegetables, the American Cancer Institute actually recommends eating 5 to 7 servings of leafy greens to prevent colon cancer, or some of the studies they did. Drinking plenty of water, your bottled water, purified water, reverse osmosis, not tap water with our chlorine in it. That would tend to irritate the colon. Exercising regularly to have movement to stimulate that lymphatic drainage. Eating your good quality fats and oils, and that also means getting rid of the trans fatty acids. Eating fermented foods, so things that contain naturally occurring bacteria like your tofu and your soy products, or your tempeh, and then your yogurts. And some of your naturally occurring substances that way that have their own probiotic enzymes in them.
Raw sauerkraut, fermented vegetables, kimchi, those kind of things. I was reading in this book, Healing Traditions, where based on the work of Dr. Weston Price, and Dr. Price, in studying indigenous peoples, found that all of them ate some kind of fermented food, either fermented dairy products or fermented vegetables or beverages that were kind of natural brews that were rich in enzymes and lactobacillus bacteria, which is very important for colon health. Our second thing in the cleansing process is to bind toxins and irritants in the guts to prevent inflammation and damage to the intestinal mucosa. And of course, the way to do this is to get more fiber. I mean, you can partly do that by eating fibrous foods, but you also can take fiber, because fiber is like your security guard. It's like on patrol, policing the area, looking for irritants and kicking them out before they can do any serious damage. So most people, because they're not getting enough fiber, we're not eating whole grains, we're not eating green leafy vegetables, we're not, doing that in general, need to take some kind of fiber supplement. And there are several kinds of fibers that you can look at. First of all, there's like coarse fiber, which is non-water soluble fibers like cellulose and bran, and they aren't really the best fibers. Those are the fibers that earn the name roughage because they're actually kind of coarse and even can be a little bit irritating to the colon. What we want is soft fibers. These are water soluble fibers like mucilage, gums, and pectin. Other things that can be used like fiber include charcoal and some kinds of clay. And all of these substances will help to absorb toxins and move things more quickly through the colon. But the best kind of fiber is the water-soluble fiber. This fiber serves a number of different functions. One is it acts as a food for the friendly bacteria in the intestinal tract, so that it actually encourages the growth of friendly microorganisms that protect the intestines. It also directly soothes irritation and it reduces intestinal inflammation, and also acts kind of like a broom to push material through more rapidly and enhance colon transit time. So some more fiber functions are it binds irritating substances, thereby reducing intestinal inflammation. And when taken with adequate amounts of water, it actually does speed up the colon transit time, so things move through more quickly, so there's less chance for irritation. Oh, and there's some more. It also holds moisture in the intestines, because that's part of what encourages proper elimination. And it absorbs materials released through the bile, including cholesterol, that are coming from the liver detoxifying, and binds them so they can't get reabsorbed and recycled back up to the liver. That's some useful stuff to know. So some of the fiber products that we can look at taking are Psyllium Hulls Combo, Nature's 3, the Low Clo, Everybody's Fiber, and for people with really sensitive colons, irritable bowel problems, and diarrhea and so forth, Volk Slippery Elm is a really good fiber because it's very soothing and cooling and anti-inflammatory. I like to take a little fiber in the morning, put a couple of teaspoons in a glass of water or juice, and take it first thing in the morning. Doing cleanse, I'll sometimes take it twice a day, but I find fiber is really, really important for me to keep my colon working properly. Now, do you have anything to add about fiber?
Well, I was just, the Everybody's Fiber tends to be the one that I choose the most, because people have less irritation with that, and especially if it's somebody that's not used to doing a fiber product, and there are a lot of people that aren't, that one seems to be the gentlest of those that are listed.
Yeah, one of the reasons why it's a good fiber too is it contains the fructooligosaccharides that feed the friendly flora and help that way too. Our next step to helping this problem is to improve colon transit time, so that toxins are removed from the GI tract on a more timely basis. So what we need is some movers. We need some intestinal movers that are going to keep things moving along so that they don't have a chance to pile up. There are several ways of doing this. Of course, one way is to use water and fiber, what we just talked about. That's really probably one of the best ways, is that if you get more water and fiber, you're going to speed up your colon transit time. Now, in the beginning, you might have to kick your colon in gear a little bit with some Anthraquinone Laxatives. These are things like Cascara Sagrada, Senna, which are in formulas like LBS2, Bowel Detox, LBX, Senna Combination, Liquid Cleanse. But those are kind of harsh for long-term use. What anthraquinones do is they actually cause the colon to hold on to more water, so that the stool stays more moist, which bulks out the stool, kind of presses against the lining of the colon, irritates it a little bit, and gets the colon to move properly. Water and fiber over the long run really do the same thing. So your best bet is to get more water into the body, get some fiber to hold it in there, rather than constantly using the stimulant laxatives. But there's another way to do this, and that's to use bitters. Your natural laxative is bile, and so if you take some herbs that promote the flow of bile, a yellow dock even contains a small amount of anthraquinones, but even things like burdock, all-cell detox, Oregon grape, Enviro detox can speed up colon transit time when used with the water and fiber. And another great trick is to use enzymes. Enzymes actually will break down poorly digested material in the colon, and even enzymes themselves will actually help to speed up colon transit time. Found out you can even cleanse the colon just by taking enzymes on a regular basis. Enzymes are important for several reasons. First of all, when you get this material in the colon that hasn't been broken down properly, taking extra enzymes will break down that food stuff in the intestinal tract so that it can be eliminated better. It's also going to improve the absorption of nutrients. It also helps to break down toxins, so it's going to reduce the buildup of toxins and, of course, have that very mild laxative action. You have
And also with enzymes, you can see, like in live cell analysis, when you take enzymes between meals, how it really goes in and it will clean up the blood.
Yeah, so when we're talking about using enzymes to speed up colon transit time, you're actually either taking them with the fiber and or between meals, not with meals. With meals, they help break down food. In between meals, they actually help to move things through the colon and break things down. Some of our enzyme products to look at are the Proactozyme Plus, high potency protease, small intestine detox, which contains marshmallow with an enzyme called pepsin, which delivers it into the intestinal tract, and bowel detox contains enzymes along with some fiber material to help move things through the colon. Kim, why don't you take the next one?
Okay, one thing you want to do is reduce intestinal inflammation, the existing inflammation. So that you do, and then you want to restore the integrity of the intestinal membrane lining. So we need to look at some ways on how we can actually do that. So this is going to reduce that permeability or the porosity of what's going through there. So binding some things with B12 helps with transport. We want to go in and look at what do we do to take the fire down. It's like you have these little arsonists running around. So you need to hire some firefighters, because it starts out as one little flame, and then there's another little flame, and then there's another little fire over here, and then pretty soon you have this raging forest fire. So some of your anti-inflammatories are the xanthones that come from the pericarp and the mangosteen fruit. That's in our Tigo. Your chamomile is another anti-inflammatory. Licorice root, yucca, those two actually are part of a category of those corticosteroids. And your intestinal soothe and build, those have all the cooling herbs in there. And our IF relief, which again has some of that xanthone activity from the pericarp in there, and has those other, like the boswellia and anti-inflammatories in there to help reduce the inflammation. So one of the key factors here is to reduce the existing inflammation and not just keep building more fires and building more fires.
In other words, that goes back to avoiding the stuff that made you get inflamed in the first place.
Exactly. And then you got to plug the leaks.
Got to get a plumber, huh?
Yeah, so now we have a plumber. Okay. The firefighter came in, put all the water on it, and now the water's leaking everywhere. So now you got to hire the plumber. Okay. So we're employing a lot of people here.
Yes, we are.
So we want to look at some tonics. What are some intestinal tonics? The number one that I use for leaky gut that really shifts the blood chemistry that we talked about, like with the albumin and the globulin and the liver enzymes, is the kudzu St. John's wort. Kudzu is very astringing. And then the St. John's wort actually helps in the large intestine with some of those serotonin uptake sites.
It's a bit of an anti-inflammatory.
It's an anti-inflammatory as well. And it also has a little bit of an antibacterial action. Then uña de gato, or the cat's claw, is another anti-inflammatory. The intestinal soothe and build, you're going to see that one a lot because it works on, it's a major product for this issue. Glutamine. So when we look at glutamine, it actually, with most of the studies that are done on research activity, glutamine was one of the top products listed that had the most research on it. And what it does is it enhances like the barrier function in the cells with the gut against the viral and the bacterial agents and the food antigen invaders, the ones that that come in and they kind of don't agree with what our antigen structure looks like. So the body has to work really hard to flush it out. So glutamine also reduces cell injury and infection. So that's a big one on there as well. Then the cellular build, because it contains the fructooligosaccharides that we talked about, or the nucleotides that actually go in and help enhance the gut's good flora.
And don't they help like speed the ability of the gut to be able to regenerate new cells, because a lot of times those cells are getting damaged and they have to be replaced very rapidly.
Right. And to hold on to that, the good bacteria that way as well. And then glucosamine. So I know that when we usually think of it with structural health, but actually what glucosamine does is that it helps to heal that extracellular tissue that's out there, and it's surrounding the intestinal cells, and it decreases the binding with some of the lectins. So when things come in that don't agree, or they're irritants, they cause what's a lectin, or like a Velcro activity, and it kind of makes things like the blood kind of sticky. And the glucosamine comes in and reduces that lectin binding activity so that it takes the edge off the irritant.
I want to mention that there's actually quite a bit of research that Unidigato also reduces gut permeability as well as being antimicrobial, reducing infections and reducing the inflammation. And then we got that quote there on glutamine, which I think is
and this is one of the studies. The studies that was done
on cat's claw.
On this was on glutamine.
Oh, glutamine.
Okay, that it was a major nutrient in the intestinal cells needed for maintenance and repair. It reinforces this first line of the immune system. So this is what we're talking about, how it can aid the gut in protecting against the viral and the bacterial and the food antigen invaders. So there's quite a bit of documentation on how these natural substances work to help prevent the inflammatory response and reduce porosity and actually help to fix or remedy a leaky gut.
Great. Go ahead and take the next one.
Okay, well, we're going to look at yeast, the yeasty beasties. I know that being in natural health, you hear a lot about candida, about yeast. You're always going to have some candida, some yeast in the body. It's the overgrowth of it that sets up significant negative effects in the body. So these harmful microbes that come in, and we want to get that balance back of that healthy balance of bacteria in the intestines. So we're going to call in some exterminators. So some of the antifungal agents that we're looking at that help to exterminate this bacterial are Probiotics, the caprylic acid, your oregano, garlic, which is pretty sulfuric, and then the yeast fungal detox has most of the major ingredients in there. So some of those antifungal, now we look at the antibacterial agents. We have some single herbs that work as antibacterials, which are garlic, the golden seal, the colloidal silver, and some of the agents that I use to help like within the gut or the intestine itself are gastro health. That one's particularly formulated for H. pylori bacteria.
But you use it for other things,
I use it for a lot of other different things. I use it when carbon dioxide levels go high. It helps to regulate the lung control, which is that pH buffer, that first line of immune defense. So if you can regulate that first line of immune defense, it's going to help take inflammation down in the body. Okay. The Unidigato combination, we talked about that again, of some of the studies that you talked about that have been done on it, because it does have a remarkable ability to cleanse the entire intestinal tract, and it helps those with some of those bowel disorders, like with the Crohn's and the celiacs. Then also we have the chlorophyll capsules, and those are the capsules because those are the ones that are fat soluble. So they help to bind some of the toxins in the liver, and it helps the liver to purify it a little more. And with the alkalizing process that goes on with the chlorophyll capsules,
they're actually a mild laxative too.
They do actually turn into a mild laxative and have a little bit of a green effect.
St. Patrick's Day.
So we have some anti-parasitical agents too that we need to talk about, because when you have this leaky gut situation, then you've pretty much set up a buffet. So it's like going to Vegas. You've got this buffet for all of these parasites coming in, so they're not going to leave. You have to change the host condition to make them leave. So some of the things that you can use there are the black walnut and the garlic, that you want to change the environment so that they don't want to be there, and the wormwood. So the wormwood is also in your Artemisia combination, and that actually helps to kill off like larvae of the egg situation so that you don't keep rehatching these. I know it's like a really nice visual.
Oh, I know.
And then the paracleanse. And doing the paracleanse, I usually do a program, and it's kind of like what you were saying. You know, it's not just about you hurry up and increase the transit time and flush stuff through the colon and you're done with it. You think you fixed your cleansing problem. It's about how you approach it as a whole program. So I usually do one round of the paracleanse packet, then in between that for 7 days do Artemisia, and then do another round of 10 days of the paracleanse, and you repeat this, and you do that for 3 times. So that makes it 3 total rounds of the Paracleanse packs, and in between that, each time 7 days of the Artemisia cleanse, and that really makes a significant difference in your parasitical activity.
How do you go about deciding whether we're dealing with yeast or bacteria or parasites?
Well, they all go hand in hand, because if the yeast or candida is present, you know the parasites are present, because they really feed on that. So if you remove the buffet, then usually you're going to get rid of most of the parasites. And you can add the yeast fungal detox in there, is usually what I start with. And I'll go, a couple of bottles through the yeast fungal detox, and then do a parasite cleanse. Because if you're taking their food sources away, and then you want to reduce the parasitical activity, and then you, like we were talking about, this is where the enzymes come in that are so important as well, because what are parasites made out of? Protein. So if you're breaking down their protein out, their exoskeleton, then you can flush those out.
Okay, great. Well, we mentioned that the leaky gut problem ultimately culminates in the liver being bombarded with toxins, because all of the blood coming off of the digestive tract travels through the portal vein up to the liver, and then the liver has to act as like a second perimeter of defense. So you got your first perimeter of defense out there. Now behind that, you've got the liver acting as the second perimeter of defense. And so when the first line gets breached, then the body tries to shore up its defenses at the more inner perimeter. And of course, what happens is that perimeter over time with leaky gut gets really compromised too. So you've got to work on the liver at the same time, so that you're restoring both of these outer rings of defense. There's a big relationship between the liver and the colon. Because the liver, one of the ways it detoxifies is it sends toxins through the bile into the digestive tract, and then the liver also eliminates toxins into the digestive tract through the bile, but the liver also filters toxins coming from the digestive tract. So it's like a loop. And what happens with certain kinds of toxins is they actually get stuck in the loop. That's how certain poisonous mushrooms kill people, is because they're readily absorbed. They go back up to the liver dumps them, and they get reabsorbed. And as they cycle through each time, they damage liver tissue. So there's that big link between the liver and the colon. Now, the liver contains enzyme systems, and these enzyme systems could be thought of as the body's hazardous waste disposal system. So when you have these toxic compounds that get into the body, the liver uses these enzyme systems to essentially neutralize them, clean them up. They're the cleanup crew to clean up that toxic material so that it can be safely eliminated from the body. And there are 2 parts to this enzyme system. There's the phase 1 system, and the phase 1 system consists of 50 different enzymes which electrically charge toxins by adding or eliminating electrons to prepare them for the phase 2 detoxification. Now, the liver needs nutrients to do this, and so some of the nutrients that are needed as cofactors to make these enzyme systems work include beta-carotene, vitamins B1, C, and E, the minerals copper, iron, magnesium, manganese, you know how to pronounce that one? I don't take chemistry course. Molybdenum, sulfur, zinc, also choline, your essential fatty acids, lecithin, and methionine, which is an amino acid. And so if you're deficient in these nutrients, and of course leaky gut causes you to be nutritionally deficient, especially with minerals. So basically, again, these 2 problems will go hand in hand. So you sometimes have to increase the amount of those nutrients to get these to work. Once these enzymes have taken and put an electrical charge on this toxin, the toxin is actually, in some cases, more seriously damaging tissue, so the body's got to move it quickly into the phase 2 detoxification, which is where enzymes add a chemical group to the toxins, which is a process called conjugation, to make them water soluble so they can be excreted through the kidneys or through the bile. So molecules that are bigger get dumped through the bile, and molecules that are smaller go out through the kidneys. And again, we need nutrients for this. So there are conjugates, which are the things that are these chemicals get attached to, which can include amino acids, various sugars, glutathione, methanone, sulfur, and acetyl-CoA are some of the things that the body will attach these toxins to. But again, there are nutritional cofactors that are needed to make these enzyme systems work. These include numerous vitamins, such as folic acid, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12, vitamin C, minerals like germanium, magnesium, manganese, molybdenum, yeah, that's it, okay. Selenium, sulfur, zinc, a number of amino acids, and N-acetylcysteine, which actually helps create glutathione, which is a major thing for detoxifying in the liver. So some of the things that can really nutritionally support liver detoxification and help your body's toxic waste disposal system include green foods, things like green zone, barley grass, and in Canada they have a barley gold, a nature's gold product that's a stabilized barley grass, which is really good for this. Milk thistle combo is really helpful here. It contains vitamin C and acetylcysteine, as well as the milk thistle. SAMe is another one that helps here, and acetylcysteine, and your indole-3 carbinol, and other compounds from your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and so forth. Do you have anything you want to add?
I would add the SOD in there probably as well with the gliadin to help with that enzymatic transport in the liver so that you're decongesting the sinusoids there and the endoreticular portion of the liver.
Well, antioxidants are important too because there's an oxidative free radical process that's generated in this too. So that's why it's important to maintain a good level of antioxidants. Some other things that are going to nutritionally support this process are your liver formulas like Liver Balance, Enviro Detox, All Cell Detox. And a really good kind of drink to make this happen is to mix some Tigo with some VitaWave and some colloidal minerals so that you're getting minerals, vitamins, and nutrients and antioxidants together to kind of support that detoxification process.
And in that drink, and doing that Tigo and the VitaWave and like the mineral chi, putting a little bit of colloidal silver in there and a little bit of the lymphatic drainage, and that really makes a nice concoction to not only like move some things through a congested area, but to go ahead and have transported those nutrients as well.
Great. Now, of course, we also want to make sure that the kidneys and the bile are working properly because once these toxins have been processed, that's how they've got to be excreted from the body. So our next step in the cleansing is to stimulate the flow of bile and urine to remove toxins which have been processed by the liver. So we can think of the remedies that do this as our nutritional sanitation engineers. There are garbage men, rather. And some of the things that are going to help here are we're back to fiber and water again. That's because it takes the fiber in the intestinal tract to bind the toxins that are coming out of the gallbladder through the bile and carry them out of the body so they don't get reabsorbed. Also, herbs that are called cholagogues, which increase the flow of bile, like dandelion burdock, your Liver Balance, Enviro Detox, All Cell Detox. Things to move the lymph and kidneys would include lymphatic drainage formula, kidney drainage formula, and in some cases maybe the kidney activator blend. Kim, why don't you tell us a little bit about the probiotics and why they're so important to this intestinal health issue?
Okay, well that, again, we're going back to the mucosal membrane and that first line of immune defense occurs there. So we want to repopulate the intestines with the friendly microbes. And some of the benefits of that, of putting probiotics in, are protecting the intestines from the infection from those harmful microbes. So the goal is to have more good bacteria than bad bacteria. And a lot of the bad bacteria coming in alters that ratio. We also want to help break down the food and provide the nutrients. So it's getting that ecosystem balanced out so that you can absorb the nutrients again. And then also having more good bacteria, you're going to neutralize more of the toxins. So you have a way to keep them at bay, so to speak. So some of the probiotic supplements that we want to address are, of course, your acidophilus, your bifidophilus, your L. reuteri, the fluorophores, your probiotic 11, again, your fermented foods, and those we've talked about with the yogurts and things of repopulating that.
Right. Maybe we should kind of like put this together. That's an awful lot. What would you say is the most common kind of thing that you would put a person on that you suspected had leaky gut?
Well, it's hard to just have a generalized program because it depends on what it's occurring from, if it's a chemical sensitivity, what's going on with them. So I kind of look at the blood chemistry to determine which one, but a general program that I do is, first of all, you want to reduce the porosity of the intestinal membrane. So I use the Kudzu St. John's wort and the Uña de Gato together. That kind of hits the first step. Then you want to address the inflammatory response in there, which the Uña de Gato does help a lot with that. You can add the Tigo in if needed or the IF relief for excess inflammation. So that's kind of your core thing there. And then you want to work on repopulating the friendly flora, and you want to put the fiber in. So you're basically looking at your core products, and then you want to go in and you want to put the minerals in and the vitamins so that you have that nutrient delivery going on again. So first you go in and reduce the porosity of the intestines, reduce the inflammation, increase the delivery system, bind the toxins that are there, reduce the inflammation, and then add the nutrients back in.
Now, you know what's funny? You didn't mention anything about taking laxatives. Actually, the truth is I very, very rarely put anyone on like an LBS2 or Cascara or anything, because I find it doesn't really help what the real problem is. Most people are constipated because their intestines are inflamed.
I wasn't really moved to mention that.
And really the laxatives aren't doing anything for the inflammation. And if you get the inflammation and tone the intestines back up, the constipation will start taking care of itself with water and fiber.
And a lot of times the laxatives precipitate protein, so they can be a little bit of an irritant in the system, and you don't want to irritate for too long. And when you're in a leaky gut situation, there's already a lot of irritation going on. So you could be like indirectly aggravating an already aggravated situation.
Yeah, and that Kudzu St. John's wort that you recommend, I have used that too with some clients, and it's really made a huge difference with certain people. It just really seems to be one of the best remedies for toning up that and stopping that leakiness that I've tried of all the different things we have tried.
And it was originally formulated for alcoholism to help to reduce that. And when you look at every alcoholic that I've dealt with, they all have leaky gut syndrome. So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? So there is, an alcoholism is actually an allergy to alcohol. And we're looking at allergens and how those affect intestinal things. So that's kind of what made me start using that when looking at all of the symptoms there.
Also, when you understand this, you can see why, I've had a lot of great experience just doing a little bit of colon cleansing for helping with fevers. And I grew up with chronic sinus problems. It was when I did some extensive colon cleansing that went away. So this basic thing of getting the colon to work properly is a major factor in improving overall health for most people. This, in fact, is one of the simple remedies, or what that would improve maybe half of most people's health problems, is to get their intestinal tract working properly again. So try some of these things. Kim gave you a great program for working on this in a simple way, and we hope this material will benefit you as much as it's benefited some of the clients that we've worked with.
So there it is. Whoa, right? I know that was a ton of information. And as per looking at my numbers, nobody stayed with me the entire time. And that's okay. I understand. It was extremely intense, and it was a lot of information, and it was deep, and it was a lot of information. So I understand that. But the point that I wanted to get at, whether you are a specialist in the herbal medicine world, whether you are just trying to figure out what leaky gut is and if this is what you have, or whether that's what you have and you're looking for something to fix it, that video can help. And so in the end, is it really that we are what we eat? Not always. If we don't have a good digestive health system, it doesn't matter if we eat all the nutrients and all the minerals and all the vitamins and all the everything. If our body can't process it because our gut is inflamed, well, it just passes right through. And so it looks like that there are some things, though, that, I mean, it's not a hopeless world. There are ways to fix the problem, right? There are ways to fix the situation. And so with that, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful that we began this series of explaining health, because the deal here is it's not just about hemp, right? We know hemp. If you've been following me, you know hemp is the crop that will save America. It's the crop that will save Alaska. It's the plant that will save our planet, right? But let's be real. If the people don't get healthy, if they don't choose to put down the things that have made them sick and choose to pick up the things that will make them well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the absolute truth. And I hate to be like, I don't know. I don't know what I am about that, but it's the truth. If we don't put down what made us sick and pick up what makes us well, we will never get better as a planet. We'll never get better as a species, because the planet cannot heal until the people do first, and the people decide to get better. So I don't know what we're going to cover next week. Just stay tuned. Same time, same channel, Friday night, 7 p.m. Alaska Standard Time. Coming up, explaining health. Tomorrow morning, joining me at Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Alaska Standard Time, explaining hemp. We're going to be talking about hemp traders, and Lawrence Serbin will be with us. He is president and CEO of Hemp Traders, and we will be discussing his pioneering efforts in the hemp industry globally. Very excited about that. So until next time, may the Lord bless you and may he keep you. May he lift up his face towards you, shine his favor upon you, goodness, and this time give you peace. Give you peace.
Mama.
And Lord, may you bless these people, whether you watch now or into the future, may you bless them, Father. And join us next time on our next episode of Explaining Health. I am Sarah Williams. God bless you.
Hey, Mama. Do you know